I have been doing the internet antagonizing, and I apologize deeply. I asked one question, and all of a sudden, he had so much less to say. I do not want my money to support people who actively suck. All right, here we go. I'm going to pretend I'm pushing record because that feels right. Okay, I'm pressing record. Boop. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Howard. Welcome to Different, Not Broken, which is our podcast on exactly that there are a lot of people in this world walking around feeling broken, and the reality is you're just different, and that's fine. I got into an argument with a dude on the internet again.
Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet.
It's like a thing I do. Actually, I got into 2 last week. These are always cantankerous dude bros who get what they deserve, but it used to happen fairly frequently. And I don't know if I just don't pay as much attention now or I have scared off the majority of the cantankerous dude bros, but it has happened twice in like the last week, and it feels like hearkening times of yore, and I kind of like it. But anyway, it's almost the same argument every time because I talk a lot about remote work and trusting your employees. Wild idea, I know. Treating your employees like adults because they will act like adults. Shocking. How could you ever believe that people would, when paid fairly and treated like adults, would do their jobs? Shocking. Impossible to believe, right? But I talk about this a lot on the LinkedIn box. And inevitably, on one of these posts, there is some dude bro who wants to point out that remote work is ineffective. You have to watch your team all the time. If you don't, they will take advantage of you. If you don't micromanage them, they will not do their jobs.
Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet.
I had one not that long ago who said that he managed a call center, and if people were not watched and monitored for call activity all the time, they just wouldn't take the calls. They just wouldn't take the calls. They would not do their jobs. They had to be watched and monitored all the time, 100% of the time. And he had a lot to say. And then I asked one question, and all of a sudden he had so much less to say. Shocking. It's a really simple question. I ask it a lot. It really, for some reason, brings their very bullish, I know everything about running a workplace attitude down to maybe I have less to say. And the question is, how much are you paying them? And then I just wait for the silence. Or the full Porky Pig.
Awkward.
Because the answer is never, oh, we pay them really well. It always boils down to, well, it's an entry-level job, so I pay them entry-level wages. So shit. That's what you're saying. Because if you were paying them well, you would say what you were paying them. What's an entry-level wage? Minimum wage? Because we know there's lots of data that shows that's not a livable wage. $15 an hour? Barely a livable wage. Barely a livable wage. In most places, still not a livable wage. Double that is barely a livable wage. So tell me, how are you paying people who are doing this shitty, awful job that even you don't want to do? Because if you wanted to do it, you would just do it and you would do it better than they are, right? And you would reap all the rewards of their big salaries that you give them. How much are you paying these people who are doing the worst job in the world? Nobody's working at a call center because they want to, or because it's a cushy gig. Let's put it that way. They might like their jobs. They might want to work there. And I'm certainly not being negative toward those people who work in those jobs. Everybody needs to work. Everybody needs to eat. If that's the way you pay your bills, good for you. But nobody's working there with their feet up on their desks, enjoying the high life. I worked in a call center for a long time. It was awful. And I worked in the call center that was rated the best for both customer service and employment in the world. So those were the best conditions. And it was awful. I got yelled at constantly. People would yell at me for things that had nothing to do with me. I got graded on surveys that people would do about their experience. Except if somebody talked to somebody after me, but before they got the survey, they would grade me on what the other person did. Experiences that you could listen to the call and tell did not even align with what the call was about. And I would get penalized for it. I would get penalized for things that other people on my team did. I would get penalized for things that other departments did. It was all a game rigged to make sure that you never got recognized for anything. And guess what? I got paid shit. I was fresh out of college. I thought I had to go get a job at a big company so that I could have upward mobility. It was all shit. Oh, and by the way, I think I was making $13 an hour at the time. Even making $13 an hour on a team full of people who also made $13 an hour, I still showed up for work every day. I still did my job at 100%. Our computers were not monitored. I worked in a team of people, all of whom showed up for work every day. We had no attendance issues whatsoever. So I don't want to hear about how you have to micromanage your team. I don't want to hear about it. I've been on that team. What are you paying them? And why are you expecting them to treat you with benevolence when they can barely pay their bills on what you're paying them while you're also treating them like shit? I have never asked that question, and I've asked it a lot, and been given an answer of anything other than the bare minimum. I've never once had someone say, I am paying this person well. I am paying this person at market or above market or well above market. And they're still not doing their jobs. Or none of them are doing their jobs. It is always, well, we're paying them what we can afford. Well, then your business is failing. Because if the only way you can run it is to grossly underpay people, you're bad at business. You're doing it wrong. And then you want to blame your employees for the fact that you're bad at business and underpaying them as a result? Next time somebody wants to insist to me that people aren't capable of being autonomous at home or people need to be micromanaged to do their jobs, and it's not just next time, it's every time. It's one question. What are you paying them to clearly abuse them? You seem to be okay with something that the rest of the world really isn't. There's the platitude or the whatever people say, like, don't get into fights with pigs. You end up messy and the pig enjoys it. That is my general take of people on the internet who are not saying things directly to me, especially on Facebook.
Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet. Arguments with dudes on the internet.
For the most part, I'm like, I'm just going to block you and move on. You don't want anybody to tell you any different. You're not going to listen. You're too deeply entrenched in whatever white nationalist version of 2026 you want to be living in. And so me reminding you otherwise is not going to benefit anyone. And that is usually my take. Except I don't know what happened with the fucks I normally give. But they seem to have escaped. And I have found myself not arguing with people on Facebook because I don't care what they have to say back. They're just bad people. It's fine. But just being like, doing that thing where you're like, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm gonna. I have to. I can't not. Like these people who have been posting that they picked the Turning Point USA halftime show, the Consolation Prize halftime show for butthurt white people who don't realize that 14% of our population speak Spanish in their homes and 22% of our population speak a language other than English in our homes. So it is not like you are not running into people who don't speak English or who don't speak English as their primary language. They're fucking everywhere, especially Spanish. We would not have so many forms translated into Spanish if we didn't have that many people who prefer to speak Spanish, and that is not a problem. That is not a problem.
Arguments with dudes on the internet.
Most of the people who signed up, and if you signed up to be part of the alternate halftime show, you don't get off the hook. Fuck you, dude. But also, most of the people backed out because they got so much hate for doing it. They were like, yeah, no, this is not what we meant to do. We meant to be quietly hateful, not outwardly hateful. Sorry, our mistake. We'll do a better hateful next time. But then on top of it, it was headlined by a guy who wrote songs about being a pedophile when your president was recently identified in a giant dossier of documents as a goddamn pedophile. And these are the people who are fighting for traditional family and the whiteness of America. Yeah, for some reason, that in particular has broken my brain in a way that the filter that is usually like, this stupid internet person is not going to care that they're wrong or that they're a bigot or that everything that they are saying is hateful and racist. They're not going to care, so just walk away. My fingers do not do the walking. They do not. I have been doing the internet antagonizing, and I apologize. Not to the people I'm doing it to. They deserve it, and they deserve more. I wish for them much more antagonizing. I'll put it that way. Like, it's not benefiting anybody for me to argue with these people. It really isn't, but it does make me feel better for like a second. And like, some of it are on some business groups that I'm in, and people are like, why are we talking about the halftime show in a business group? And I'm like, because if you suck, I want to know before I spend my money there. I do not want my money to support people who actively suck. So if you could let me know which one you watched, so that I know that when I am selecting a plumber, that I am picking the plumber who doesn't suck or only uses suction to fix my plumbing issue. That would be my strong preference. Anybody who thinks that there is such a thing as things that are not political has never had a hard day in their lives. Fuck you very much. I am going to make decisions on where I spend my money based on who it is supporting. And if that means that you have a Trump bumper sticker on your work car, I will find another whatever job you do that I would see your work car, which might be a stretch because I don't leave my house or look outside very often, but you know the point. I'm going to apologize to the universe for laying down with pigs because they do enjoy it, because getting people angry is their goal. But I will remind you, to all of the people who are butthurt that we allowed a country that does not have a national language to feature in a private sporting event, a privately owned company. The NFL is not publicly owned, meaning it is not a government entity. A private company was allowed to pick somebody who does not sing in English. They were permitted to allow him to put on a concert that, if that is a problem for you, because it doesn't center you in it, equity feels like oppression when you are the oppressor. So you're butthurt because something isn't about you for once. And that's okay. Please go be butthurt somewhere else and not on my feed. And now we'll go to Allison, who has this week's small talk.
A question from Nate in Provo, Utah. I don't trust compliments at all. If someone praises me, I assume they're wrong or being polite, but criticism sticks forever. How do you recalibrate that without swinging into arrogance?
I don't think you need to worry about swinging into arrogance. That is not a thing that's going to happen. I probably could swing into arrogance pretty easily, but I think that is a very human thing. Somebody can tell you 10,000 good things about yourself and you're like, yeah, maybe. And then someone says your feet smell and you're like, that has to be true. And That's just the way we're wired. Negative things outweigh, in importance to us, outweigh positive things. And it is because we have this, well, not everyone. I will assume that mediocre white men who fail up don't have this problem. But we assume that everyone is out there saying awful stuff about us, and they just haven't told us yet. And so when someone says something nice to us, we're like, well, you're probably going to leave and say something shitty, right? That's how this works. That's always how this works, right? No, the reality is that when you're not immediately standing in front of someone, they're probably not thinking about you, and they probably have nothing to say about you. And if it's somebody who is a garbage enough person to say things out there that they wouldn't say in here to you, then their opinion probably doesn't matter anyway. But in the grand scheme of things, people don't have time to think about you and don't have time to make opinions about you. Everybody's just trying to survive. There is this internal training that we have that people are only telling the truth when they're saying something awful. And if you've spent any time on the internet at all, you'll know that that's not true. Because a lot of people say awful things just because it gets them attention. We can't give more credibility to the awful things than we do to the good things. I think the question is not, how do I get more used to this without swinging into arrogance? And instead is, how do I start believing that I actually am worthy of all of these things that are being said about me? That I am not just making it up and taking compliments that I don't deserve. There aren't a ton of people out there who give compliments that are unearned. There just aren't. They might say nice platitudes. People are not generally effusive about things that they don't like or don't enjoy or don't think were done well. If you would believe them if they were saying something awful, you should believe them if they say something nice. But also, I say this about imposter syndrome a lot because there are a lot of people walking around with this imposter syndrome telling them that everything they've done in their career was just a series of failures that other people didn't notice, and that they have failed at everything they've done. They've made it all up. They're a giant fraud in the role or the position that they're in, and they're just waiting for somebody to find out. That is actually arrogance, because that means that you are so much smarter than every other person that you have encountered that they could repeatedly miss that you are bad at everything that you do. The universe is so very much on your side that it has allowed you to repeatedly fail without any of the intelligent people around you noticing that you're full of it. That didn't happen. That can't happen. No, but you're not going to repeatedly do a terrible job or make things up and have nobody catch on throughout your entire career. You're taking the power and the agency out of the people who have given you the positions, given you the promotions, given you the raises, given you the whatever in your career by thinking they must be wrong because I'm just a giant idiot. It's not true. It's not the way it works. To answer your question, I don't think you're running the risk of swinging wildly into arrogance, because I don't think that's how you're wired. If you have to ask this question, that is not how you're wired. But also, if you would believe somebody when they said something shitty about you, that means that if they said something nice about you, that is also true. And you don't get to pick and choose which one they're telling the truth on. Don't worry about being arrogant, and also, baseline believing that you deserve nice things and compliments does not make you arrogant. Thanks for being here, guys. Have a good day. Love you, mean it.